OK, so we're joined now by Lucille Howe, the author of the new book Bondi Blonde, who's going to be reviewing some of the hottest reads, summer sizzlers, to keep you entertained by the pool this summer. Welcome, Lucille.
Hello, Darren.
Hi, thanks for coming along. And before we get going, it's quite timely that you've come along now, because there's been a lot about these kind of books in the news, mummy porn.
Or clit-lit.
Or clit-lit, I don't know if we can say
a second ago, if we can.
I don't know if we can say that on daytime. And there's been one title in particular, 50 Shades of Grey.
Even though it's called various other versions of 50 Shades of various things around the block, depending whether you like it or not. Yeah, it's Elizabeth James, and basically she's written a trilogy. And Goodreads.com was credited for its kind of success because it was a sort of underground sort of success, like it was word of mouth, and gradually she got this amazing big deal. So I started reading it and I really wanted to love it because I really miss the kind of bonkbusters of the 80s, but it's so badly written. Like, it kind of, I was 30 pages in and there was no sex so far, and there was a terrible scene where the main character kind of fell into an office and his staff were all blondes, leggy blondes, and I just thought, you have to work harder for my attention. But it's brilliant seeing people on the tube, like, concealing their book covers or kind of concealing their Kindles so that we don't know what they're reading. But that's also the thing, and that back in the day when you'd be able to kind of take a Jilly Cooper or something and look down the spine and see where the biggest crease was and follow it to find the really juicy bit. You can't do that anymore. So on your Kindle, you really do have to wade through about 300 pages before you get to the good bits
Before
sometimes.
I get to the juicy bits.
Yeah.
Well, let's try and get to the good bits now. What's the first book you're going to review for us today?
Well, my first book is Katie Price's In the Name of Love.
Do you want to pick it up and show it to the camera
Sure.
so people at home can see? So
this is her 8th book. And she makes no secret of the fact that she actually writes it with writing partner Rebecca Farnworth. So I was prepared to be a little bit kind of critical, to say the least, about this, because Katie Price isn't so much known for her literary endeavours, but it was so good. This is the first time that she basically draws on her equestrian knowledge, her horse riding background.
Slightly Jilly Cooper-esque.
A little bit Riders for 2012. Basically, the lead character is a girl called Charlie, who's a sports presenter, and she goes to Barbados on a holiday with her best friend to try and get over a swine of an ex. And she meets this Henson Philippe, this Spaniard, but they both keep what they do for a living secret because they want to leave that behind. So they fall in love not really knowing what a big deal the other is. And it's great because we're in Barbados, we're, you know, in the tropics, it's hot, it's sexy, these people have got money. And I'm going to read you an extract of the moment that Charlie first encounters Philippe, who's just been very rude to a member of staff. And Charlie's a down-to-earth Essex girl, so she doesn't tolerate fools or people being rude. So, ready, mums. He came to an abrupt halt, towering over her. He could have stepped out of a men's style magazine in his turquoise board shorts as blue as the swimming pool and white shirt unbuttoned to show off his tan skin and ripped abs. It was hard not to stare. Very hard. "Excuse me, señorita," he spoke in slightly accented English and looked Spanish with his dark brown hair, strong chiselled features and high cheekbones. She was aware of his gaze burning into her. He might be male model gorgeous, but he seemed arrogant, and that was not a quality to endear him to Charlie. "Is that it?" He looked puzzled. Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. You barely apologised after charging into that poor girl?" He seemed slightly taken aback by the criticism. "I'm sorry, I had an important call in my apartment." "Of course you did," she said sarcastically. So...
Wow.
So it's two people really meeting their match. And it's kind of hard not to see Katie Price in Charlie because she, very suspiciously is olive-skinned and green-eyed and has curves where it hurts and gorgeous long dark hair. So I expect she's drawing a lot on her own experiences, also her ex-footballer boyfriend. So it's kind of nice to get this insight into stuff that we guess might have happened to Katie herself. And every 30 pages or so, there's a nice bit of sauce goes on.
OK.
Not too graphic, not shades of grey, shades of pink, if we can say that. So I'm going to rate this 4.5 Speedos of sauce out of 5.
Oh, so, great. Well done, Katie. That's quite saucy.
Yeah, very saucy.
Next up, Kate Lace, Cox.
Yes, C-O-X.
Ah.
Not Kate.
It's a rowing novel.
So this is, I kind of thought with the Olympics coming up, I'd do a kind of, sporting theme. So this is Kate Lace. who sounds like a racy novelist anyway. She's got the best name for it. It's her 7th book, just behind Katie Price. She wrote Trophy Girl and Gypsy Wedding, and she turned to writing after 8 years in the army. So again, she's been around a lot of men, a lot of hot physiques, so her descriptive skills are very good. So this is basically a story about Amy, who's a cox. So, you know, the cox is the person that shouts at the back of the boat. It has to be very little and petite. So Amy's sort of this gorgeous little blonde ringleted thing. And there's 2 men, 2 for the price of 1. There's Rollo, who's a complete snob. He wants to row for the Olympics. He's at Cambridge. And Dan, who's more dark and brooding and comes from a poorer background and needs to work all hours God sends to be able to boat. So you've got a choice of 2 guys, whatever your preferences are. And we move from Henley Regatta to the Oxford-Cambridge boat race to the Olympics. So we get to, again, go to some really glamorous locations that I don't get to.
In the present time, and so the Olympics are mentioned, are they?
Yes,
2012.
they are. Okay. So
it's very off the moment.
Climax comes actually at the Olympics when basically they're fighting for a position in the boat. And so this is an extract where we first meet Rollo, posh old Rollo. And this is Amy starting talking here. I cox for a crew from Bath and I'm working as their physio for the next few weeks. Rollo got her to give him a massage, said Dan. Karen rolled her eyes. So she said. I wouldn't have touched him if I had a vat of disinfectant on standby and was wearing a biohazard suit. She sipped her drink again and gazed at the crowds of people around them. Then she said, ugh, I don't believe it. Her eyes narrowed at whoever it was that she'd seen in the crowd. The other 2 followed her gaze across the grass. Standing about 20 yards from them, also in blue and orange striped blazer, and surrounded by a group of glamorous girls, including half of Amy's crew, was Rollo. And as they looked, he turned and saw them. Jolly good, he called. Danny boy, be a good chap and bring us a couple of jugs of Pimm's and a dozen glasses. He waved a £50 note at Dan. Come on, chop chop. Not loving Rollo so far.
No, but he's moneyed, isn't he?
But he's moneyed and he's ripped. So, so even if you don't like boating, and I haven't been to much boating in my time, it's great because Amy's a physio, so we get right in the physio room with her with these half-naked bodies, and there's a lot of drama, and with the Olympics, it's like, so we're getting a behind the scenes for really one of our best shots at getting gold this summer. The only thing I would say that these are graduates, students and recent graduates, so in their early 20s, so it's perhaps something for girls in their 20s, early 30s.
Post-university crowd.
Yeah. Unless you like the younger man, unless you're Demi Moore. So yes.
I guess you could say the same about the first book you reviewed, though, because if you're not into horse riding, then... But there always has to be a central theme.
And also, what I really like about In the Name of Love is it's a real sort of ensemble piece. So you've got the 2 leads who are in the equestrian scene, but you've also got the best friend, you've got the nanny, you've got the agent, you've got lots of like peripheral characters.
Sure.
Yeah.
And finally, not a book in the traditional sense.
No, basically, Jackie Collins has kind of surprised everyone by releasing an ebook update version of The Bitch.
Her classic
Novel that her sister starred in the TV show, and I think was the prequel to The Stud.
OK, and this is, it's changed slightly for the release, has it?
It has. She's kind of, she's condensed it. It's just a little over 200 pages, so it's something for the mini break rather than the 2-week holiday in the Costa Dells. And she's also updated all the cultural references. So back in the day, the main character, Fontaine, was managing a kind of 70s disco. Now it's a sort of hot London nightclub. So just to so you never feel that this was written back in 1978, which it was.
Sure.
So it gives it just like a refreshing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Amazon announced last year that ebooks had outsold all hard books and all paperback books on Amazon. So ebooks are really selling fantastically. And Jackie said it's a total experiment, that it might sell either 2 copies or 200,000 copies. She's prepared for kind of a surprise.
Do we know how many it has sold?
I don't yet.
OK.
1 more than it had last week.
Sure.
Because I read it and it's absolutely fantastic. And this is a woman who sold 400 million copies worldwide. But good on Jackie for being savvy and moving with the times.
Yeah.
So this is basically a story of Nico Constantine, who married into wealth and has lost an absolute fortune at the casinos in Vegas. Without giving too much away, these aren't spoilers, these are like first 50-page plot stuff. So he steals a diamond ring that turns out to be a fake, but manages to slip it in Fontaine, who's our female lead's handbag, to smuggle it through customs. So these two are inextricably linked because of this sneaky happening. So I'm going to read an extract when Nico is following Fontaine with her handbag and her ring through business class, where they're both about to fly to London and he hopes to retrieve it. So this is Fontaine and her escort that she's seeing him with. She was accompanied by a muscle-bound young man who hung on her every word, and her every word was very audible as she spoke in a piercing voice that didn't give a damn about who might be listening. God, this is all so boring, she said loudly. Why can't the bloody plane take off when it's supposed to? She threw herself dramatically into a chair, shrugged off her sable coat and crossed silken legs. Do order some champagne, darling. Who's that? Nico asked the waiter serving drinks. The waiter shrugged. Fontaine Khaled, some Arab billionaire's wife. We have instructions to look after her. She's been through here before and she's an absolute bitch.
Wow.
Yes, so she is a major bitch, but brilliantly so. And I think because of, we know, we're in a recession, everyone's tightening their belts, it's kind of nice to revisit times of real excess and glamour. The only criticism I would say is that I know she's been updating and making the cultural references now, like, for example, her escort looks a bit like Johnny Depp, but at the same time she has him dressed in double leathers, a leather jacket and leather trousers.
Big on the catwalks next year.
Is it, Darren? Well, I'm not to know. It sounds like a boil-in-the-bag outfit to me for this time of year. And it also says that he's a bit Sylvester Stallone. So I'm thinking, she's with an escort who looks a bit like Sylvester Stallone, what now, in his early 60s in double leathers? So I kind of feel like I wish he'd gone the whole hog and really updated everything. But still, it's like a cracking read. So I'm going to rate that 4 out of 5 Speedos, which is also very racy, but the great thing about Jackie is it's not really graphic detail. So if 50 Shades of Grey made you blush on the tube and wince because some of it really is out there, then this is more about the unspoken stuff that's happening, you know, the morning after rather than right in the moment. So for any of you with a slightly more fragile disposition but still like the racy stuff, then Jackie's still a classic.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Lucille.
My pleasure.